Welcome to the future, or at least Chevrolet's version of it. This is the 2024 Silverado EV RST all-electric truck. It's loaded with some very interesting features. In this video, we're going to check them all out and then put it to the test. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. The all-electric truck space has grown exponentially in the past few years, and with it, consumer choice has blossomed. There are so many options now, everything from the Ford Lightning to the Tesla Cybertruck. Somewhere in the middle lies this, the Chevrolet Silverado EV. It is, of course, a full-size all-electric truck, and it has some very interesting features. I think it also looks pretty good. Although my son keeps saying that it looks just like an old Chevy Avalanche. Yeah, can't unsee that now. The Silverado EV starts at about $57,000 for a basic work truck configuration. The model we have here is the top-of-the-range RST Max, which has an eye-popping sticker of $96,710, including destination and a couple minor options. That may be a dump truck full of cash, but you do get some very impressive features for that money. This trim has a standard 205 kilowatt-hour battery for a max range of 440 miles. For DC fast charging, it is rated at 350 kilowatts, so it should charge pretty quick. Chevy claims up to 100 miles added in just 10 minutes of charging. The RST does include a pair of high-output permanent magnet electric motors to power the all-wheel drive system. This system produces a peak output of 754 horsepower. But let's put a little star around that because that peak output is only available when you're running WOW mode. What's WOW mode? We're going to get to that a little bit later in this video. This is a pretty big truck, so thankfully the RST does have four-wheel steering for improved maneuverability. It's also heavy, tipping in the scales at nearly 9,000 pounds. If you do plan on taking this down some forest roads, just be aware that some of those old bridges out there, yeah, their weight limit is under the weight of this truck. For the upcoming 2025 model year, there will be a new max range work truck trim that has a total range of 492 miles, which is nuts. There's also going to be a Trail Boss trim, which they are going to send up for us to test. Really looking forward to that. Now let's dive into some of the key features of this new Chevy Silverado EV RST. And we're going to start with the frunk. Unfortunately, cannot open it with a button. There's no button. There we go. Hey, there you go. In here we also get AC power and an Ultium charging cable. Let's see what they sent us. Okay, yeah, this is a level 1 and level 2 charging unit. We have the adapter for the standard power and 240 as well. Nice. And then there's also a fix-a-flat kit, and there's a recovery loop. You would need a pretty big truck to pull this thing out. Yeah, hopefully we won't use this today. Push button. How does this close? So there's no push buttons that I see to close this. I think I just tap it. There we go. The standard tire on this is a Michelin Primacy LTX, and it is a 275/50 R24 fitment. So yes, these are 24-inch wheels. They're massive. In fact, the 33-inch tires on my Land Cruiser are slightly smaller than these. For a charging port, we get a CCS. If you want to run NACS, you'll have to get an adapter. Just like the standard Silverado, there is a step integrated in the rear bumper, making bed access very easy. This trim also comes with the multi-flex tailgate and midgate. Let's see if I can go figure that out. Does that whole thing, oh, it just pulls out. Okay, so we do that, we release that. Oh, there we go. Ha-ha! Did it. Okay, now that I got this multi-flex midgate down, I have a couple thoughts. First off, it's pretty awesome. This is actually pretty amazing that you can open up the cab like this. But here's the thing. That was a lot of steps, and you have to remove that big piece of glass out. So I kind of feel like it's one of those features that's very cool, very, very cool engineering, but I kind of think most people, they won't do it. They won't use it. It's too many steps, it's too complicated, and frankly, you're opening up your cab to the elements, which, I don't know, maybe some people are going to be into that. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but time will tell. In the bed back here, we also get a wealth of power connections. That makes this a real Swiss Army knife for mobile power. That's awkward. Got to make sure the groove is correct down there. Push it in, clamp it. That one didn't fit. Did that fit? Yeah, and we're golden. Now that we have the seat in place, let's see what it's like for a normal crew. Right, it's a little firm, but the contouring is nice. I got lots of room for my legs, my head. I'm 6'1", legs torso proportionate. I fit fine. Very large people can fit back here. I also get seat warmers on the outboard seats, as well as AC and USB-C power and vents. And right here, a fold-down armrest with cup holders. Right. So immediately I see we have one of those features that I don't love, and that is the vehicle turns on the moment I sit in it. The moment I get back out, it shuts off. I would much rather have manual control over when my vehicle is on or off, because it's not always dependent on whether I'm in the vehicle. For example, if I pull up and want to open a gate, I want to get out, open the gate, get back in. I don't want to have to wait for my Apple CarPlay to reconnect. I just want it to work. Oh, I just remembered. This is one of those new EVs from Chevy that doesn't have Apple CarPlay support that pretty much every other vehicle on the planet has. As for the rest of this cabin, it is pretty dramatic, and I think it's actually pretty cool. The seat, it's a little on the firm side. I do get lots of power adjustments, heat and cooling, which is all very nice. I have this massive panorama sunroof up here. The steering wheel is chonky because this is actually equipped with Super Cruise, so hands-free autonomous on selected freeways. So we have a little light up here for when that is active or inactive. And we got some nice contrast stitching below here. We do have lots of piano black, so the future apparently has highly scratchable lacquered surfaces. Got a nice little badge here, says first edition. And then, oh, that's a big bin. Down there we have a USB-C power socket. We have another 2 up there. And then we also have wireless charging right there for a mobile device. Okay, what other features do we have? Oh yeah, air suspension on this vehicle, so I can hit a button and we can go up or down. And of course, we also have one of the largest screens available in the space. This is slightly larger than 17 inches, but it is more of a widescreen, so I personally think that the 14-inch unit in the Toyota Tundra looks bigger, but this is actually physically bigger. Also, it has some nice curves on the outside. I kind of like how they did that. Anyhow, in here we have controls for everything. It is a Google integrated system, so it is using Google Maps, your Google account if you want to, and it's tied pretty deeply into the vehicle with trailering information, charging information, camera information, all that kind of stuff. And then the same kind of display carries over to the main display over here, our gauge cluster, which is digital, and that gives me all the information. And right now we have about a little more than 80% of our battery. So before we head out, let's figure out what these buttons are over here. We have one that says, oh, vehicle off, so that's to turn off the vehicle, even when I'm sitting in it, okay. Foot off brake, foot back on brake, now it's started up. But there is something good here. This button right here will let me keep the vehicle going for 60 minutes. So that means that if I get out and in and I need to keep the vehicle on, I can do that. But here's the thing. No Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Like, let's just say right now I want to get myself a coffee. Well, I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use this. And I go and I get a coffee and I pre-order it. I want to navigate to the location. Oh, no, I can't do that. Now I have to go into Google Maps here and find the location. It's kind of annoying. It's basically taking something that has already been given to consumers in pretty much every other vehicle, with a few notable exceptions, and saying, no, you can't do that anymore. you get to do it the hard way. That is, unless your whole life is wrapped around the Google infrastructure. But that said, if you own an iPhone, it's not likely that that is your universe. So yeah, Apple Music, can't play it here. I can't navigate to the nearest Starbucks using my app. I have to do everything over here. And that is super frustrating for something that costs almost $100,000. Don't take options away from the consumer. It's not good. There. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. I will talk about, though, this vehicle, it is big, and it, of course, has a very long wheelbase. But the neat thing is it actually has four-wheel steering, and you can enable and disable that in the menus somewhere. So I haven't quite figured out these menus. They don't make a lot of sense. So there's these menus, and then if I click that, okay, there's rear steering. I can turn it on or off, which is kind of cool. Not sure why you would want to turn it off, but it's an option. Now, this won't do the crab walk thing that the Hummer version of this truck will do. It only uses it for turning, which is, that's okay. We also, of course, have auto park assist. I can turn on and off the heads-up display. What I can't turn off is that sound. So EVs are federally mandated to make noise at speeds under 20 miles per hour. So that way pedestrians don't get surprised by something running them over. Oh, surprise, you just got run over. The thing, though, about this noise, I don't like it. The exact tone, frequency, just something about it bugs me. It also bugs my wife. She does not want to ever ride in this vehicle because she hates that noise. And she's been in a lot of EVs. I've been in a lot of EVs, and I'm not sure why this particular sound is so annoying. It's also super loud outside, louder than it seems most vehicles are. Or either that or it's affecting my ears in a way that I'm just like, make it stop. Put it into park, then it'll stop. I mean, it's so bad that after a while, I'm putting this into park when I'm stopped at lights. That right there, deal killer for me on this vehicle. But this truck is very interesting. I mean, the mid-gate, who does that? This dash, it's a whole lot of screens. And yeah, it's just got so many features. So what are we gonna do today? Well, I have some chores that I need to do, and so we're gonna take care of those. We're then gonna charge it up, and then we're gonna bring it back here to our Peninsula Proving Grounds, where we're gonna test out the trail mode, because yes, it does have a trail mode. If I can find where the drive modes are hidden on this screen. So we got my mode, we got normal, off-road, and tow haul. Obviously, it's the off-road mode that we're going to put to the test when we come back here a little bit later. Under my mode, we can actually see what features you can adjust. Steering can be adjusted, suspension can be adjusted. You can make it stiffer or softer. Acceleration from the pedal. You can change the motor sound, but that doesn't affect the idle sound, the federally mandated sound. This is really more just the sound inside the cab when you're accelerating. And then my mode, you can kind of mix it up. Okay, so put this back into normal and let's head out. Because this is based on the same platform as the Hummer EV, which we've already tested, we know this thing is fast. How fast? Chevy claims a 0 to 60 of 4.5 seconds when using the wide open Watts mode. Yes, it has a wow mode, because of course it does. Now, to engage wow mode, it's actually pretty straightforward. I just hit the button here. Whoa, and I get a sound effect. I guess it's on now. And that unleashes the maximum amount of power out of the vehicle. It's not a whole process like the Hummer, because the Hummer lowers and does all this stuff. This one, it's a little bit more straightforward. And all I have to do is hit the throttle. Let's see what it does. 3, 2, 1, go. Good Lord. Woohoo! Okay, 4.2 seconds. And it was slightly moist out. This thing's fast. We've definitely determined that it's fast. Now, this thing is rolling on massive 24-inch wheels, and personally, I think it's a little excessive. They are all aired up at 62 PSI. Yeah, so they're hard, the wheels are massive, you don't have very much sidewall, And what that means is that the cabin's actually a little bit loud, louder than I would expect on something like this. On the road, this is actually a pretty quiet, comfortable place to be. The seat is fairly comfortable, though a little bit on the firm side. Visibility could be better. That C-pillar back there isn't the best, especially on acute angles when you're trying to merge. It can be difficult to see back there. But all that said, it's quiet, it's comfortable. It's actually a pretty good cruiser, especially with the Super Cruise autopilot system, which we'll test a little bit later. So let's see how quiet it is. I'm guessing that this is actually going to be a pretty good score. Okay, we're at 50 miles an hour. Seems to be hovering around 59, 60. That's very, very good. Overall, pretty quiet. Now, that said, if you do keep it in wow mode, that does add a lot of extra noise to the cabin when you're accelerating and decelerating. So, you know, if you don't want that kind of aggravating noise, don't turn on that mode. And that is something that I'm a little surprised with on this vehicle. The federally mandated speed under 20 mile per hour noise is very aggravating to my ears. My wife also, neither of us like the sound. It's not the fact that it's loud, although it is on the loud side. It's something about the pitch. It just kind of drills into my head and I don't like it. This is obviously something that may not bug you, but it bugs me. Also, when you turn on the various accelerated sounds, which are under drive modes, my modes, edit, motor sounds. Right now we have the sounds are off. So when I accelerate, it just goes a little bit quicker. If I turn sport mode on though, it adds a lot more sound to the cabin, which frankly, I just don't think we need. So I'm going to turn those off. And then of course, if I hit this W there, Jesus, it's so loud. Now, I mean, I would have loved this in my 20s. And for some reason, these ridiculous sound effects made more sense to me in the Hummer, because the Hummer is just a goofy, fun, kind of ridiculous machine that has just amazing tech in it. This one has the same tech, but it's supposed to be more sophisticated, more straightforward, more practical. So, yeah, don't need the sound effects. I'm going to go ahead and turn off WW. Jesus, why is it so loud? This vehicle is, of course, equipped with the Super Cruise feature that enables us to go hands-free on selected highways. Right now I'm on what's called the KP highway, and this is not part of the database, so we can only use adaptive cruise control. So I'm not going to mess with this right now. We'll play with this when we get on a authorized highway in a little bit. Okay, well now let's dip in and check out the efficiency of this. Now this is based, of course, on the Ultium battery platform that GM developed over several years. It's the same basic battery setup and charging setup that you would see in the Hummer EV, which is fantastic for what it is, as ridiculous as it is. You don't have to like the vehicle to appreciate the tech. That's a key designation there. Let's see, vehicle status. I just want to see what my juice use is looking like. Okay, click on that for more info. Okay, there we go. So in the 6.6 miles I've driven so far with a hard acceleration, I've used 5.2 kilowatt hours. Let's see, can I reset this in any way? Add to driver display? Ooh, that's cool. I like that. Although I am having trouble looking at the whole display here. Like, I can't get the steering wheel, unless the steering wheel is like super high, I can't see the full gauge cluster. I can feel everything. Like, I go over the smallest little like turtle, and yeah, you can feel it because, again, the tires are all running like 61 PSI. I actually had to air down, when they gave this to me, it had 67 PSI in the rear, and that was just frankly too much. I brought it down to a 61 on all corners. It's a little bit nicer. But it's just massive wheels, high pressure, massive tires with very little sidewall. It's just not a comfortable situation. Like, you hit a pothole hard, you're going to be replacing a 24-inch wheel. Visibility isn't great in this cab. The C-pillar over there, if you come to an acute corner, you cannot see oncoming traffic at all. You have to reposition your mirror. So that is not great. That C-pillar is just, it's too big. But I think that's just indicative of this style of design. But that's kind of like where design trumps usability. I'm just really kind of baffled, frankly, about a lot of the decisions they've made with this vehicle. I like the Silverado. I think the standard Silverado is great. If you need a truck that tows, get the Duramax and you are set. However, in the translation to the EV, they made it weird. And I think that's one reason why I like the Ford F-150 Lightning so much, is that if you want an F-150, but you also want it electric, you're not buying the truck and going, why is everything so weird? No, the F-150 Lightning is just like a regular F-150, except it has some extra benefits of being electric. This is weird. What I think they should have done if I was running the company, which I'm clearly not, I'm not even qualified to run the company, but if I did run Chevy, I would be calling this the Avalanche. That way, yes, it makes sense that it's weird because the Avalanche was a little weird, but it met the criteria of a certain buyer, and that way they could just make a normal electric Silverado when they felt like it, or if they needed to. But in this case, they're calling this just a Silverado EV. Well, now you've changed what the Silverado is. Now it's this weird Avalanche-like thing. And you might say, oh, well, there's not much brand equity in the name Avalanche. Well, I'll tell you this, my 15-year-old son knows what an Avalanche is. I never told him, why would I? But he looked at this and he's like, that's an Avalanche. I'm like, no, it's a Silverado. He's like, huh, looks like an Avalanche. So I think if they called it an Avalanche, we could almost, I could forgive some of the more eccentric aspects of this vehicle. Calling it a Silverado, I just have more of a trouble with that because a lot of the stuff I don't like about this isn't this weird on a regular Silverado. It just isn't. So our first stop up here is going to be charging this up because this does have over 400 miles of range. And right now, because of filming, a lot of stuff you didn't see on camera, whatever, I'm down to about 276 miles of total range. And I will say, having a battery the size of the battery in this thing, yeah, you just don't think about range much. Now, granted, if I was towing or if I was doing a cross-country road trip, then yeah, obviously you start thinking about range, but you think about range even in a standard vehicle. I mean, heck, my Land Cruiser, if you're towing, you only get like 200 miles of range. On a good day, you get 300 miles of range when you're not towing. Because this has the Ultium battery, it actually charges almost as fast as you can fill up with gas a regular Land Cruiser, because this thing charges at 350 kilowatts. It is a fast charger, and we're going to play with that in just a little bit. I've been driving for a little bit, and the seats, yeah, they're not bad. I find them a little stiff, and the lower back support could be a little bit better. Let's see if I can adjust that in a way that I like. Yeah, I can add a little bit more lumbar to the back there. Okay, so it's not so bad. But they are a little on the stiff side. I would like something a little bit more cushier for a truck. Okay, we're pulling onto a proper highway. Let's go ahead and try out the Super Cruise, which is their autonomous hands-free mode. Now, first thing I have to do is turn on adaptive cruise. Let's go ahead and get that on. I think we're on. It's hard to see because the steering wheel's in the way. Go ahead and set the speed. Of course, at this point, I can set whatever target speed I want, and it'll gap the vehicle in front of me. Now, I hit another button here, and then when the steering wheel turns green, it's now hands-free mode, which is pretty cool. Now, obviously, it's monitoring my eyes, so I have to look forward to make sure that I'm not, like, reading or getting into the back seat or something like that. But at this point, it's actually driving itself, which is kind of nice. Let's go ahead and accelerate a little bit. I can also change my gap level here with this little button. And there we go. Super Cruise actually works pretty good. Funny thing about Super Cruise, though, is that it will actually work on some of the smaller highways around the Washington Peninsula, but it'll actually work on some highways where it can't turn hard enough, so it actually deactivates mid-turn. Ideally, these kind of systems would deactivate prior to the turn when they're not under stress. I mean, it has a map. It should know in advance, or just don't approve those highways. But there's several around here where I've used Super Cruise, and then mid-corner, it's like, no, we're not good. And that's how Super Cruise has always been out here. I've used it with other vehicles out on the highway, and it does kind of give up the ghost mid-corner. However, on a multi-lane highway, the corners are usually gradual enough where it's going to stay engaged the whole time, as long as I keep my eyes looking forward. So covering the sensor, how long does it take before it gives up? There we go, finally gave up. So it only lasts for a couple seconds. Unavailable, looking away too long. Let's go ahead and re-engage. It's not going to penalize me. It's going to go ahead and re-engage immediately. Okay, so Super Cruise, great system, works really well. Just, you know, we're auto lane changing, I guess. Okay, sure. I didn't ask it to do that. But my target speed is significantly faster than that car, so I guess it decided that passing was in the cards. Nicely done. I do like that this system allows me to kind of glance over here a few times without freaking out. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn blinker on. Let's see if it's looking for an opening. It's finding the opening, and it's doing the work. Nicely done. Is it going to cancel? No, I have to cancel. Right, well, let's go charge this up and see how fast it charges. We're at 268 miles of range, yeah, hopefully it should go pretty quick. So we don't have an Ultium branded charging station here. We do have an Electrify America, which I have had mixed results with. So unfortunately, the only EV charging stations near me are 150 kilowatt chargers. I don't have any 350s available. So we can't charge at the fastest rate. Okay, and of course, credit card swiper is broken as usual. Luckily, I have an account. I can swipe to start charging, initiating, and we're off to the races. Then we come back in a little while. And again, this is only a 150 kilowatt charger, so we can't really get maximum charging capability. This can do up to 350. We just don't have those around where I live. Obviously, if you own a truck like this, you're gonna have a level 2 charger at your house. It just makes sense. So you charge this up overnight. Overnight, you can definitely get to the full capacity of the battery. So right here, we've been on it for almost 10 minutes. We've paid $8.51, so you can tell it's actually much more expensive to use a charger like this. And at 150 kilowatts, we actually got a pretty good amount of charge. We went from 58% to 66. So anyway, I'm gonna get on with the rest of my day. I got stuff to take care of, so let's go ahead and get this back on the road. Stop, boom, there we go. Right, well, busy day at the chargers. I'm leaving and somebody with a Mach-E wants to come right in, so away we go. Okay, now we're off to the hardware store to pick up some rocks. And that 10 minutes, I'm up to 306 miles of range. It's actually really impressive how fast this vehicle can charge, especially if you can find a 350 kilowatt charger. But even with a 150, totally usable. Now we'll just go back to my house, drop these off, and then we'll test the off-road capabilities of this RST. So I'm showing I have 299 miles remaining on this charge. Now, one really nice thing about this Silverado RST is that the payload is 1,500 pounds, which is actually quite a lot for a vehicle like this. It's only a little bit less than the standard Silverado. Now I gotta get this unloaded. If you're so inclined to use it, it does include a single pedal driving mode, which is solidly single pedal. I put the gas in, I get gas, I lift, and it brakes with a really heavy recharge. I don't particularly care for it, but if you really like that EV driving experience, it does have a proper single pedal. Okay, well now we've driven around, we've done 0 to 60, taken a little load over to my house. It's time now to see how good the off-road mode is in this RST. The Silverado here does use an air suspension system, and that allows it to basically go up and down a total of 2 inches. I think in full height, we're looking about 9 inches of ground clearance, which should be plenty for our course today. Although I don't know if I've taken anything with quite this long of a wheelbase through the course. So this is going to be interesting. And of course, this does have all-season tires, which are not great. Still, I want to see how good power shift is on this system. Can it get us through complicated situations and shift that power around to get us through? Or are we just going to bottom out and not get through it? I don't know. Let's see. For setup, all we need to do is pop into drive modes, pick off-road, and we should rise. We're not rising. Why are we not rising? There we go. It's a little slow. Still going up. Let's get that maximum ride height. We're probably going to need it. What is the wheelbase on this thing? 145.7 inches. Yowza, that is so long. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. We're at our max height. And look for that wheel braking to shift power left to right. This is a 2-motor setup, so you have one motor powering the front axle and another powering the rear axle. And then we have brake vectoring to shift power side to side. Cameras. How do we turn on cameras here? Camera. Everything's in the screen, because of course it is. Are we gonna lift a wheel at all? Yep. There, we're lifting a wheel. Oh yeah, that wheel braking's kicking in. Doing the work. Go down into the ditch here. I gotta definitely be very cautious with my clearances on the sides. Oh, interesting. Vehicle stuck, turn off traction. No. Down we go. As we continue on, look for that back wheel lifting, because I don't think this will have great articulation. Oh, we're so wide. I feel like I almost have to pull in. I'm going to pull in my side mirrors here, because I feel like that's really close. It is. Yikes. Ho, 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 ho. Continuing down into the hole, make sure our tilt doesn't bang us against the tree. Very close. Oh, that was so close. Okay. Going a little wider than usual because this thing is so big. Front camera's kind of nice. Let's see how it does with this traction picking us up. Oh, yeah, does a good job. Excellent. And then, as we finally exit, we'll listen for any grinding. There's a bump on the way out. And if we clear it, which I expect we will, we can go over to the logs. Of course, this long wheelbase, I don't know what it's going to do. Oh yeah, no problem. Let's do the logs. Okay, now we're going to go over the logs here. Now these are a number of tree logs sunk into sand. Use that 4-wheel steering to get a tight turn into it. I'm not expecting any troubles here, but let's just see how it does. Oof. Whoop. Searching for traction there. Okay. Oh yeah. Got us over, no big deal. Obviously, this truck didn't have any real issues. It's comfortable to drive, it charges really fast, and it's plenty capable. So why wouldn't you get this over the standard Silverado? Well, I think it really comes down to initial cost. The initial cost on these big battery electrics is pretty high. However, the work truck comes in at just under 60 grand. That's not bad, and it has excellent range. Then there's all the other little things that kind of bug me. The lack of Apple CarPlay, the sound effects, a lot of plastic. I mean, it's just not something that I would probably buy even if it just had a standard gas motor, because it's just a little too weird for a truck for me. Now, if this is what you've been looking for, congratulations, here you go. Excellent range, lots of power, pretty fun to drive actually. I would get smaller wheels though, 24s, absolutely ridiculous. That's the Silverado EV RST. Now we are expecting to get a Trail Boss version of this in a few months. When we do that, we'll do much more extensive off-road testing with it. But this one, yeah, it did everything we asked of it today. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share our videos. We make them for you, and I hope you enjoy them, and I really hope you share them with your friends. We'll see you again right here real soon.